Hi, I'm Jennifer Quick with Soul Clarity Coaching. In this video, I'm going to talk about attaching entities and spirits that are around us on the earth and the third dimension, fourth dimension, and yeah, I'm going to take it to the third and fourth dimension. So what I'm going to talk about is Draconians and Changelings, which I mentioned in another video when I talked about soul origins. I'm going to talk about them and how they actually serve us, what their purpose is, and what's going on there. I'm also going to talk about earthbound spirits, ghosts, poltergeists, and what are the origins of them. And yeah, so let's get into it. All right. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, all good. Share the video. That's right. Anyhow, so what do we? So first of all, I'll talk about Draconians. Draconians is sort of, there's a lot of different types of Draconians, but it's sort of an umbrella label that we put upon souls that are what we consider negative. All right. And when I say that they're negative, what I like to think of them is agents of chaos, because their entire purpose is to create chaos. They are meant to fracture the light, create contrast to the light, so that we can see the light for what it is. All right. So it's serving us by giving us an opportunity to have an individual experience. If we didn't have agents of chaos or negative souls, then all we would have is light with positive, and there would be no individuality. There would actually be no creation. So they actually serve us greatly. Now, we don't. Okay, so that's the negative, agents of chaos. I'm going to go there. Changelings are on the same scale. They're not as dark as Draconians. Changelings are simulators. They're like the Borg from Star Trek. They attach to souls and assimilate the soul as part of them. All right. So they're kind of bringing everything together back into union. But when you become one of the Borg, when you become a changeling, you lose your individuality. So when a changeling incarnates, which they can, they incarnate, really, they assimilate somebody else's soul. And that's how they incarnate, is they hijack, basically, but they hijack it and assimilate it, and it becomes part of who they are. So it's a really tricky situation, and it's generally something most people don't deal with. We run across them. We can feel them because they pull energy from us. It's like they're sucking energy from us. Some people, I think in Native communities, they'll refer to them as succulents, or vampires fall under that category as well, where they're sucking the energy. Anything that's sucking the energy from us tends to have a changeling. They really do it, and they're very masterful at it. They suck the energy, and you feel like you become enmeshed with them. They're really good at creating enmeshments. All right. Then I'm going to go into earthbound souls. So what is an earthbound soul? An earthbound soul is just any soul that has incarnated in a third dimension. So they've had a physical experience. And then when they leave the physical experience upon death, they let their physical body go. So the energy molecules that condense enough to create a physical body actually reprocess into the earth and become part of the cycle. Right? So the physical body leaves, but they get stuck on the fourth dimensional plane. So they get stuck in what we refer maybe as the ego body, the emotional, the mental body. They get stuck at that point, and they don't fully cross through to the fifth dimensional and higher aspects, where they understand themselves as a soul. So they're caught in this limbo state between being incarnated and being in soul aspect. And they're literally physical people walking around without a physical body. So they have emotions, they have thoughts, they interact with the environment and with anybody that will interact with them. Now, generally, what will keep a soul from crossing over and get stuck are unfinished business, concern about loved ones, so they don't want to leave a loved one behind. Justice, an unfinished business is often related to justice. They want to hold accountability to something, or they can't forgive themselves. That's a big one. They feel so horrible about themselves that they cannot forgive themselves. This is the cause of what religion causes a lot of. Yeah, anyhow, our religious concepts, anyhow, they can cause us to feel that we aren't deserving of returning to spirit. And so then we get stuck here. It can also happen when a loved ones are so emotionally unable to process the death of the person, so the person leaving their physical world and going back into spirit world, and crossing over that veil, they actually can't emotionally handle. They actually create they hold the person there. They hold the person on this side. They don't allow them to cross over because it's so strong. The connection they're holding is so strong. So compassionate connections and hooks, cords, things like that can hold a soul from passing over. Often, when the person that is holding them passes on, the two will actually pass over together. Hopefully that happens. It doesn't always, but hopefully it does. It's interesting, actually, nowadays, we don't have a lot of death as part of our society. It used to be death was very much a physical thing that we were close to. We nursed our loved ones on their deathbeds and were with them when they crossed over. We were closer related to the shovel and digging the hole to put the body, for caring for the body, treating the body. If you look at human history, we were actually quite closely related to that. But if you look at our society now, someone dies and we step back, pick up the call, and the emergency people come in and they remove the body, and we don't actually have a lot to do with it after that. And it's gotten even more so that way because funerals aren't as big as they used to be. Funerals used to be community events. They used to be family events. The entire family came together. It was one of those things that bonded families and friends and communities together. Birth, marriage, and death. Funerals. But we don't have those anymore. And so we're actually quite disconnected from the process and have a harder time. Some of us are having a really hard time letting our loved ones pass over. Okay. Because of that, because there's the ritual of going through and caring for the body and going through the death process isn't happening so that we can actually let those ties go and pass them over. Anyhow, it's something to think about it's something to go deeper in. And if somebody's having trouble with that, please book a discovery call. I'm happy to have those conversations and try and help you through whatever it is that you're struggling with in the aspect of that. Same thing with the birth process and the marriage process. Those are three major events that we are really not incorporating into our society like we used to. And so if anybody needs help with those, just reach out and book a discovery call with me. I would be happy to chat with you and see if there's something I can do to help you with that process. Anyhow, back to the subject. So that's earthbound spirits. Now, when an earthbound spirit generally an earthbound spirit does not get its energy source from the spirit realm. There becomes this break that happens. We're not getting it from the physical, and they're not getting it from the spiritual. So they have to get it from somewhere. They get it from the emotional mental field. And so they attach, and to get that emotional mental field, they attach to the living. And that every time, they run patterns and emotional patterns of remembrance, emotional patterns of shared experiences, things like that, in order to feed and keep their bodies alive, their fourth dimensional aspects alive. That's how they get stuck. And now so usually when a soul crosses over, they need to attach to somebody that they knew were strongly connected to in this life. And that's where they get their energy from, and they get stuck into this realm, is they attach to somebody. Now, when an earthbound spirit has been attached, and when that person they've attached to crosses over themselves in their own death, if that earthbound soul doesn't go with them at that time, which sometimes they won't, especially in the case of unfinished business, then they need to learn how to draw energy from other people. So it'll spread down through family lines, through friends, things like that. Then they'll learn how to draw energy by creating emotions and thoughts that create energy that they can feed off of. And they learn it starts with the closest person they were to, and then it spreads out to like extended family and friends, and then it goes further out. And eventually they learn how to draw energy off of people they never knew when they were living. Just the general people. They learn how to draw energy from them. So they just can randomly attach to people. And these are ghosts. This is generally what we refer to as ghosts. There's a number of different names for them, but that's what they are. They eventually come where they no longer have to have a connection from the life they lived when they were incarnated. In order to draw energy, they can just draw energy from pretty much anybody. And as they get really good at drawing energy from other people and establish as ghosts, right? These are the shadows that we can see. We can feel their presence. The shadows that we see but don't see, the people that we see and didn't know, and they can appear in our dreams. They can appear, that's how they approach. They're those mystery people that we just, yeah. Anyhow, as they exist as ghosts, they can eventually become so good at drawing energy, they actually learn how to draw energy from their environment. Now, somewhere between ghosts and poltergeists. Poltergeists are spirits that can draw energy from the environment. They have learned to manipulate the environment to create energy. All right. Generally, what they will do is draw energy from people, because we're little energy generators of emotions and thoughts, right? But they will use the environment to cause energy bursts that they feed off of. All right, think about it. If you all of a sudden see a cup or a chair move across the room, your automatic reaction is to have a spike in emotion and fear. Well, that's what they feed off of. And now the other thing that happens with poltergeist is, between ghosts and poltergeists, they tend to get bored because nobody sees them, or their interaction with others is very limited. So they have a tendency to get bored. And so they can like to play tricks on us and, mess with us for their own amusement. There's that. Now, earthbound spirits, ghosts, poltergeists, they all are just like people that are incarnated, people with a body. They have different personalities. They have different egos and emotions and identities, and just like we have. And so some of them can be lovely. If somebody is, think about a person in real life, like in physical life, that was a nurse, taking care of people all the time. That was their job. They took care of people. They were a caregiver in this life, right? In the afterlife, they might still, in that fourth dimensional aspect, they still have those caring aspects to them. So they actually might be trying to take care of you. Still not a positive situation because they haven't passed over. They're interfering with you. They still need to create emotions and feed off of you, but they're not out to sabotage and destroy your life. Okay. But just like in real life, there are people who really aren't happy for you. They're bitter, they're angry, they're nasty, they do cruel things, right? Those same souls can do that in fourth dimension as well. When they get stuck there, they will continue on that behavior. So ghosts and earthbound spirits, ghosts, poltergeists, they can all have just as much diversity in their personality and everything as the human person. So there you go. That is a little bit about the entities that can attach to people and interfere with us and cause chaos in our life, and that we're seeing. What else I wanted to say? Animals can be there. Any kind of life form can actually get stuck in the fourth dimension. The more emotionally and cognitive they are, the more likely they are. So yeah, you may be seeing your pet. Now there is a difference I want to point out too before I'm going to wrap up this video because I'm not going too deep into the subject, but I think I've gone about as deep as I want, but I do want to talk about the difference between an earthbound, an entity attachment, the difference between an entity attachment and channeling somebody who's crossed over. An entity attachment is trying to draw emotions and negative thoughts, usually negative. They're never loving. They're usually like, I've never run across loving anyhow, and I've never known anybody that comes across entities like that. They aren't, yeah, actually they aren't. They aren't loving. They can be somewhat neutral. More often they're negative influence because that's where they can generate have the most influence on us. So they're manipulating us and they tend to draw out negative emotions. A positive soul, a soul that has actually crossed over and is now communicating with us in a positive way, is, first of all, very loving. They've aligned to the light of love, divine love. So they're very loving, they're very accepting. They will never, ever tell you something negative or destructive towards you. Anybody says that, if any soul you're communicating with says something negative or destructive or in any way towards you, manipulative in any way towards you, you are not dealing with a soul that has crossed over. Okay, so soul that's crossed over is always going to talk. They're always of love. You're always going to feel loved. They're always going to talk to you in a positive aspect, and they are completely accepting of your choices. They are not going to threaten you. They are not going to punish you. They are not going to manipulate you in any way whatsoever. They fully accept your autonomy, your sovereignty to make whatever choices in your life that you want to make. They are going to give you a higher opinion. They're going to like opinion from a higher perspective, but they are not going to be attached to what that decision you make. They fully accept you as you are, however you want to show up. All right. If you encounter an entity and you're sitting down and you're channeling and you want to connect with a loved one or a soul or anything on the other side, the first thing you want to do is align with divine source and divine spirit of the divine love. Okay, that's the very first thing you want to do. You want to make sure you are in that pure, beautiful column of white love. Strengthen your bubble of love, of light, white light, diamond, sparkling white light all around you. You want to do that first. And then when the soul comes through, you want to ask, are you of the light? Have you crossed over? Okay. Now occasionally a lower entity will lie, but you'll have that feeling about it. You'll know. And if you, in any way, and actually it's a good policy even, but so once you connect with source, once you are flooded with the divine spirit of love, then ask for divine truth. And now when you ask for divine truth, you will get truth. Okay. Then you can ask your loved one and then, or whatever you're communicating, are you of the light? All right. That filters out majority of anything negative happening. Occasionally there's always exceptions to every rule. And so if you've ever encountered something that you're not unsure of, book a discovery call and I'll help you through it. I'll help you identify it. But the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to ask yourself, is the information that I'm getting from a loving source? Is the information I'm getting manipulative or conditional or threatening in any way whatsoever? Does it give a negative aspect to it at all? Because a message from the other side will not. Okay? And there will be no attachments to it. They'll fully accept whatever decision. If you can take their advice or not take their advice, doesn't matter to them. Okay? So those are some of the ideas to help you if you think you have an entity attachment or you think that you're wanting some help with channeling or anything like that. Book a discovery call with me and I'm happy to try and help you move forward where you are on your journey. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share this video. Help me with my algorithms. Love you all. See you next time.